Hello and welcome to Ben's OP Game Show, recorded live at 3 p.m. Pacific Time every Friday, right here on twitch.tv/thegamefanatics. On this week's show, we're going to talk about Mass Effect Andromeda and Splatoon 2, the little Testfire, which I think they should have called Splatfire or something. I think they could have been more creative. In the same way, it should have been Splatoon with the 2 in the middle. They're dropping a few balls there. Paintballs? No. But first, there's no topics of the week. I had a really nice run of cool, interesting gaming topics to do at the top of the show, and this year has just been completely devoid of them. Like last year, we had interesting things like, ooh, what's the PlayStation 4 Neo gonna be? What could that mean? And like weird censorship in Fire Emblem Fates. And then this year, nothing. Like I don't know, some animations are weird. Who knows what's happening? So instead of that, we'll go right into the topics of the week with Mass Effect Andromeda. Boop. That's not the right thing. So let's get this started off right with Mass Effect Andromeda, as it'll pop up here in a second. Now, I took a good amount of time of criticizing how poor they marketed this game for years. We're talking 2 E3s in a row with bad showings, very delayed release schedule for gameplay of any kind. Only this year did we start getting actual like press and information for it, and it was so late it started to get just covered up by Resident Evil 7, Neo, Horizon, Nier, Zelda, like all the way to release. All of their marketing for Andromeda was covered up because they chose to wait, and they waited too long. And I made countless, maybe baseless accusations. I made fun of the game so many times because it's ridiculous what they kind of did to it. I even made fun of its animations last week because its animations are goofy, and we'll get into that too. But I played 14 hours of this game, and it's a game like I love Nier. I've played more of this than Nier. Love Nier, love Zelda. I stopped playing both of them. I'm playing Mass Effect Andromeda, and that's a little crazy and a little goofy. I love the Mass Effect trilogy. I really do. I will give BioWare shit to the day I die about Mass Effect 2 and 3 not having really good plots. They just have good character stories, which is fine, but the plot isn't very good. But Mass Effect 1 is my favorite. Besides the RPG elements, which are more in your face and actually there, it had a narrative. It had you're becoming a Spectre. You're investigating things on the Citadel. It had all these attributes of a normal Western RPG with plot points along the way for you to follow. Instead of what 2 and 3 were, which were, hey, you met a cool person, want to learn more about him? Like, yeah, I do, but there's kind of a bad thing happening. Anyway, that's all. This is all just a long preamble to say I really, really like Andromeda. No, it is not perfect. No, it is not as good as Neo or Resident Evil 7 or Nier or Zelda. And I haven't even played Horizon. Horizon's probably better. And no, it doesn't advance the series anywhere. But it is Mass Effect. And it is 100% Mass Effect. It really is just more. And if that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. Now, as we'll see right here in just a second, let's get the bad out of the way. The facial animations, the weird animations in general, the eyes juddering around is all there. It's not like, oh, we cherry picked a few moments that look weird. If you look at every single cutscene, you're probably going to find a weird moment in it. Like, that's just the truth. You're probably going to find someone looking off into space or doing something with their hand that's just like stationary and it like curls funny. You're like, what are you doing? It's all over the place. But as you can maybe see here, I play games with the subtitles on for 2 reasons. One, games do a very poor job of having background audio have any volume to it. So I feel like I miss a lot of that background chatter because I can't hear it. Or if I get too far away, I can't hear it. But the subtitles will say it. So I want that. And they also sometimes are very bad at volume mixing for explosions and shit. And like, I can't hear what you're saying. You wrote all this stuff. I want to see it. So I play all games with subtitles. And this is going to sound like a bad thing. And it is. It is bad. But if you just read the subtitles and kind of not pay attention to them fluttering about, and especially the people in the background, of which I saw a cutscene today where someone walked like a weird robot person in between characters and then awkwardly walked out of it. If you just read the dialogue, if you just take it for what it is, as another story in the Mass Effect universe, it's fine. Look at it like a B movie. That's how I've been describing it to myself. Think of it as a B movie. I don't know if this is worse than what it was before. I think it is, but I haven't played those games in years. We're just going to call it a B movie, and everything is going to be fine, right? It's not going to be up to your memories of the other games. Nothing could ever have gotten there, and you should not have been expecting this to be as good as the trilogy when, as I mentioned before, the pre-release stuff was so all over the place, and they waited way too long to show any gameplay. It was obvious there were problems with it. When they finally did show gameplay, what was the things they highlighted and talked about that were bad about it? Oh, it was the animation and the awkward facial dialogue and stuff, like motion, lip, It's still here. It's still all over the place. It's still kind of bad. It's also been said the aliens are better, sure, but they look like weird aliens. All the people in this game look like bizarre meat puppets, particularly the main character, so I just don't look at it. I like just hearing his voice, saying the things. I'm looking at the text most of the time. At least half the time, I'm reading the text. I'm reading the dialogue. That's not really a good place to be, but I like books, so I'm fine with reading, and I'm still hearing it, and it's still pretty well acted for the most part. There are also problems there too, though. Sometimes the delivery is weird. There have been many cases of lines that are just like, why are you saying that? Why are you literally saying like your character backstory? So I just met you and you're so brutally honest about yourself that you wouldn't even be that honest to a therapist, but you're telling me. It's so weird. Some of these lines of dialogue are just way too on the nose, in a way that's ridiculous. Like, it just reeks of writing that needed a second pass. It needed someone else to look at it all and be like, no, let's rewrite this. Let's change this around. Is that a bug up there? Oh God, I'm being attacked by bugs again. That's what it needs. It needs a rewrite for a lot of this. It needs a react for some of it. And there's the one instance of the one character who's like, oh, my face is tired. And she says it like the least convincing way possible. And it is funny. But I don't think it is as funny as the GIFs. And I don't think it is as distracting as all that. Quite honestly, because once I started looking at it as a B movie, and once I just kind of started reading, and you get further into the game and you meet other characters which are better. I would say after you get on your first planet, things smooth out in the weirdness front. It's fine, right? It's fine. And here's the thing. I compare it to Mass Effect 1. The plot of this, the main plot of Andromeda, is exactly, so far, what I've wanted from a Mass Effect game. I've always said that I want Mass Effect to be Star Trek. I don't want it to be fighting Space Hitler. And yes, 14 hours into the game, I finally met the main bad guy, and he has us in our sights or whatever. Then we escape. But he's not terrorizing the galaxy. He's not the Reapers, right? It's not this all-encompassing threat that we need to fight. It's just we're colonizing this place, and these are the problems we have to deal with. And that gives the game it has these problems in it for you to solve that are much smaller. The micro problems of, I built a settlement. The first settlement I built was for science or research or whatever. And the choice, it's like a one or the other, but the choice was science and research, or I can do combat, right? So more militia defenses, essentially. And I picked science and research. And I go back to the Citadel, or whatever it's called. I'm just going to call it the Citadel because I forgot if that's even what it's called. And there's these people picketing or whatever against that. They're like, you did this. Our families are on these things. Like, you can't believe you picked that. Now the militia is put back behind in the schedule to people to be woken up. And I love these micro problems and the bureaucracy of it. It's very much, there is totally a bug in my lamp, like running around. It's these problems that some people will complain about with Game of Thrones, where it gets so muddled up in the politics that people get bored by it. And that's what I love about Game of Thrones. I love all that shit. Everything is like, oh, this guy, yeah, we don't trust him, but he's also a leader on the Citadel, and this person's also a leader, and she's only here because all the other Krogan left in rebellion because they were used during this. And it's like all this deep, backstabbing, weird history that exists already in the Mass Effect universe with stuff like the genophage and the Geth. It already exists, and now we've got this new layer just for us in Andromeda. And I also love the idea of them going off into space and cutting ties with everything, except for, certain things. It's almost a reboot. But I like that it's not a reboot, and I like that it exists in the same universe because it can have the same stories, and it's just so far away removed that nothing in the original trilogy can affect it. You can pick if your Shepard was male or female, and I haven't even seen where that pops up. So it's basically just sectioned completely off, and that's fine. That's great. This is me talking to a wall for 20 minutes because that's how I play games. I listen to everything. This is one of those things I forgot about. Well, I remembered it, but I didn't remember how much it happens. There's a codex in this game, in the same way there was a codex in Mass Effect Trilogy. Now, the codex doesn't read to you like it used to, but I found that kind of annoying because the voice was too slow. Anyway, in the trilogy and in this game, I'm reading the codex. I'm reading everything in the codex, even stuff on the genophage that I already know. It's just all a refresher, right? There's no other game where I do that with. There's no other game where I go into the little lore book and I read it. Maybe I'll look at one and just skim through it, read a sentence and leave. I'll bounce. But in Mass Effect, I read all of it, and it's always, even if it makes no sense, even if it's stupid, I'm still interested in reading about it. I'm still interested in finding out about it. So like I said, 14 hours of this game, maybe an hour and a half is reading codex entries, and I say that as a plus to me. I like that shit. I like hearing all the little backstories, all the other little things, like this is how they use their mining facility to do this. I'm like, okay, what's that all about? It does become annoying when you start talking to people in the game and they're like, we're this, that means this. And I'm like, I know, I read the codex for 20 minutes. Like, I know what your story is. So that's fine. In a bad way. It's fine, but it's like, come on. It's a little, and that goes back to the dialogue being a problem. It's a little on the nose. Like, we're this because of this. I'm like, why are you saying that though? You should assume a little bit more intelligence, in the same way of everyone in this game is at the beginning, very weirdly so, calling you the Pathfinder or saying Pathfinder, like, this is the Pathfinder project. Don't you know? That's what we do because we're Pathfinder. And I'm like, why are you saying it so many times? And that's, again, why this needed a second pass. This needed a rewrite. It's so on the nose with everything. It's like, I get it. Pathfinder. I get it. And it does that. But when it's really good and not doing that shit, like when it's doing the weird politics of the Nexus. Oh, the Nexus. That's what it's called. Not the Citadel. It's the Nexus. Because the Citadel is the trilogy. It's the Nexus. I think you can understand how I got confused. All the little politics of the Nexus and how, like, oh, the 8th in command is the one in command because of the line of succession and all these things that happen. Hearing their story and how there's other arcs that got lost along the way and they're not here yet. Like, that's super interesting to me. And it sets up where I know I'm going to be disappointed because I have all the squad mates. I can tell you right now, pretty damn sure there's no Quarian squad mate. Very upset. Long-time Tally fan, not pleased that there's no Quarians at all that I've seen in the game. Maybe there's one in the game. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's going to be in the game. I'm disappointed in that. In the same way of other races like the Hanner or the weird little Ewoks and the jellyfish men are the Hana. But those guys, I haven't seen those. It's really Krogan, Turian, Asari, and humans. And that's fine. I know there's more arcs with the Turians on them and the Asari on them. I'm like, okay, they're coming along. They might show up in this game, but I don't know. And I think that's one of the biggest disappointments with it, is it feels like they had the big opportunity here to send all the races they already created into somewhere else and show new things and have them interact with those new things. And instead, we're getting most of the races that everyone likes, except a lot of people like the Quarians, and they're not in it all that I've seen. And we're also only going to introduce 2 new races, and one of them is the bad guys that essentially don't count because who cares? You're just shooting them. They're basically zombies. They don't really talk to you in a way you can understand, except for the main bad guy as of yet. And the new race, which I just met, super cool. I really like them, but the fact that I'm pretty damn sure that that's the only new race is disappointing. But man, if landing on that alien planet and talking to them and seeing their culture and seeing their gorgeous planet, which we'll get back to the graphics in a minute, it's so cool. It's so cool meeting new aliens in this universe, and they feel like they fit. I like them so far. I'm new into them. Freshly got there. I wasted 3 hours reading the codex, so I'm behind. But I love what it has to do with that. And I love also what I said with the Star Trek. Mass Effect should be Star Trek. Not crash landing, but landing on this planet and meeting a new species and having you as the Pathfinder walk out and be like, okay, don't fight me. I'm here, and you have to earn their trust a little bit. And that's why this guy's going with you, so you can help them and they can help you. This whole diplomatic mission of it, that's what I want from this. I want to explore the galaxy with my cool crew doing cool shit. And that's what it feels like. There are moments where you go back to your ship and everyone's just around the table and they're having this discussion. And that's awesome. The original Mass Effect didn't have that. It so hinges and is so just crippled by its pick 2 squad mates, and they kind of talk during dialogue sometimes when you're on missions. That's so lame. The JRPG method of you have 3 people in your party but everyone's always with you is so much better. I don't understand why they can't put that in here, because having everyone in these discussions where everyone's there on the ship, so interesting, and they all have they're piping in and they're all interacting in ways that they never do on the missions, and it's so good. It's only happened 2-3 times for me in the game so far. It's so good. I love seeing all the characters interact, and that's those moments are some of the better acted, obviously, because it's they're sitting at a table doing things. It's not jerky and weird. It's so good. I love that shit. And it's not about saving the universe. It's not about killing Space Hitler. It's man, there's this crazy race that we can't talk to, and they're bad, but we don't really know. And that's so cool. We're trying to save our people, and we're pioneers. I keep saying that all the time. That's really cool. I love that about it. There is a lot to like here. I think once you get over, especially her, she is the worst in terms of animation. And her shoulders are weird too. It's they're meh. I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange how you could release the game and have such awkward walk cycles for some of these characters. Very bizarre. Well, let me move. I have notes written down. Oh, they have this father character, which you'll see right here. This is the father, not her. She is not the father. Anyway. And it's done in a really good way to kind of set up this person, but you don't know their relationship to you and your twin, which is if you pick the other person. And yes, I gave my twin another matching tattoo that's blue instead of red. I like what they did there. I like what they tried to do. It kind of ends abruptly in a way that's oh, there's mysteries to be uncovered. And I'm I kind of get it. I don't need to solve that mystery, but whatever. It's fine. What else have I got? Oh, beautiful. I was going to talk about the graphics. I'm playing on PC. I should say, what's my PC? i7, 6700K. Overclocked a little bit, but I don't think that really matters in this instance. And a GTX 980. I can run the game basically a solid 60 on Ultra at 1080p, which is beautiful. The game is gorgeous. Just straight up gorgeous. Now, meat puppets aside, and a few weird things here and there. When you're on a planet and you're seeing, like when I went to that new alien race's planet and I'm in their town, I'm like, this is crazy looking good. This is like just wow. Like Frostbite, thank you. You're doing some good shit here. It's so beautiful. I really think this is one of those games that I seemingly, from what I've heard about the PS4 version, and I don't know anything about the Xbox One version, is a big step backwards. So like the Pro or the upcoming Scorpio with this game, I think you'd want that. I think you'd want to pump it all out, because being on these alien worlds and seeing everything, like how the grass, everything moves around, it just looks beautiful. Now, there are some problems with that. The grass doesn't move out of the way like it does in games like Horizon or even Uncharted, to bring up just a random, like tons of games do that. It doesn't do that. There are issues with it. But at just a pure graphical level, gorgeous. Gorgeous. This first little tutorial mission planet I go to in this, which I'll get to in a minute, beautiful. It's one of those things where it looks so good you can't appreciate it unless you're looking at it, like really looking at it, because when you're playing it, you're just absorbed in it. But if you take a second to look around, you really start to see, wow, this is gorgeous. And I love that. I know that this is why I built the PC, right? I think the other main thing I haven't talked about at all yet is the combat. And the combat's great. Now, I wish I'd played more of the combat, because quite honestly, the last 4 hours of the game for me have been non-combat, which is fine. I love the loop that Mass Effect has always provided of, we're going to go to a planet and we're going to fight things and explore, and then it's going to be story, and then we're going to go back to the Nexus and there's going to be story, and then we're going to go back to a planet. Like, it does this nice cycle. Now you're on your ship and you talk to everyone. Then you go to the Citadel and you talk to everyone. Then you go to a planet and fight everything and talk to people. And then, you know, as this back and forth with it, just works really well. So I haven't done a ton of the combat. I played the game today for, I don't know, 3.5 hours or so. Didn't fight anything. But I do think the combat's great. I really enjoy it. It's super fun. You're jumping all around and dashing. That's great. The different weapons is fine. The loadout customization, haven't really gotten too deep into it yet. Customizing your little loadout, and you can have 3 skills at a time equipped with 4 profiles. I haven't messed too much around with that. Haven't needed to. You can go into, you can be full biotics or full tech or full just whatever combat, and you can mix and match all over the place. That's really cool, but it's kind of a lot of choices, and it's laid out in a way that is very just kind of stale and uninteresting. Like, oh, here's 16 things. You're like, all right, well, you listed all the attacks. You listed them right next to the buffs. So like the passive buffs. So like, and then the not passive buffs. It's like, why are they all mixed together? Why are the skill trees for each thing still so basic of like level 1, level 2, level 3, and then 3 choices at the end? I'm like, all right, fine. And you can respec. I did find that you can respec for like super cheap to start out. The first time you want to do it, it's super cheap. It says it gets more expensive, but I don't know. I never tried it. And you can respec your quad mates. Yeah, your quad mates. Stick with that. But I like where the skills are going. I think the first one I got, because I'm just a normal soldier man, I got the little barrage or little missile thing. I don't know what it is. And then I can put up a little shield, and I have the force push, and I have a shockwave, biotic shockwave. And I like doing it. I think the team squad things happen enough automatically on their own. The combat's fast enough and fun enough to just, even without the abilities, work for the most part. I think the cooldown times for some things is a little too long, but maybe I just need to upgrade them. I have about 10 skill points I haven't used because I've just been leveling up and I'm not fighting anything, so I'm not going to waste time. So I think the combat is also a big focus. Running around, even on the little Nomad, I find pretty enjoyable. It should be mentioned, this first planet I went to, pretty sparse. There are things to find off the beaten path, but there's really nothing there, and you don't get a ton of experience for fighting enemies. I'm not even sure if you do in certain instances. It's really, I'm not I don't know. And if people complained about Breath of the Wild not having a lot of stuff in it, I think Andromeda really has nothing in its open world. Like, it is straight up static. I don't think there's a day-night cycle. Maybe it changes, but not dynamic. And it's just, I mean, sure, I was on a desert planet, but it was a wasteland. There was nothing there. Here's a tower, though. Okay, I'll go to the tower and I'll fight things at the tower, and then I'll get back in the car and leave because there's nothing to do here. There wasn't, in the first little tutorial open world section, there's this tree you can find, and you don't have to find it. But you can, and like, that's really cool. It's off the beaten path. Like, oh, this is awesome. And then I, get to the first planet, and it's not like that. There weren't random things to discover on the side. Maybe that changes. Maybe other planets are different. Maybe when I get to explore that planet to the fullest and not just the section I was able to, because it blocks you from going everywhere via radiation that will kill you. Maybe once I get to that point, there will be things where you keep driving and you're like, what's this strange altar? And you solve a mystery like that. Like, maybe that's there. The stuff that makes Breath of the Wild, every corner of Breath of the Wild, so good. Maybe that will be there. But as it stands, it's currently... It's a nice middle ground between Mass Effect 1's empty planets, which I still liked, and Mass Effect 2 and 3's more linear stuff. It has both. And I don't think it succeeds in being as good of a corridor shooter, at least so far, as 2 and 3, and it doesn't do anything new with the open world that makes it like, oh wow, I'm so glad they made this open world. Like, just a large, literal sandbox that I was in for the first area. So whatever. What else do I got in this guy? I'm not even a quarter of the way through my notes here. Oh, this is another thing with the dialogue. You can skip lines, which I know some people don't like to skip lines. Sometimes when you're reading something, like I already read it, and this person's delivery is so slow, you want to skip it. So you press X to skip it. Now, sometimes when you're really close to the end of the line, you'll skip the next line too, which is a big problem. I don't want to skip the next line. I want to skip this line, and it seems like there should have been better care into that. I don't know really how to fix that necessarily, but it never felt like I was pressing the button too soon and I'm skipping lines. And certain lines I can't go back and see, certain lines I can trigger the dialogue again and see, but that's weird, and that's something I don't want. I'm just skipping this one line. Like, don't freak out, game. I talked about the choices you can make and stuff like that. In your codex, which again I am in way too often, there's a cool little log of all your choices. So it'll start talking about, like, this is what you did on the first planet. Like, you discovered the weird tree. You rescued this person. You did this. And that's so cool. And it does that for everything. I'm like, here's what you did on the Nexus. Here's what you did in your first planet. This is what this means. Like, you chose to side with this person. And does it does it for your crew, where it's like, PB's starting to know you, but you'll crack through that exterior and, actually get to know the real person. Like, it really tells you, like, you just started to know this person, but further details will da-da-da-da. And, like, this person getting to know you, and they reveal that they don't like this and this. And it's like, this is so cool. You can see your relationship status with them in such a kind of weird, creepy way, but so cool to see that. And even if it didn't have that for the characters and relationships, just having that for the things you did, the little minutia along the way of, like, you sided with this person in this argument. You chose to tell the truth in this situation. That's super cool. Like, I can go back at the end of the game and look at that and be like, yeah, I did side with them. And that meant this later on. You're like scrolling through the code. Like, that's super cool. It does so many things like that I think are very, very cool. The menu's not bad. I kind of brought that up already. The menus are really bad. They're really messed up. The map is also terrible. Real terrible. There's no mini-map, which is baffling. Where is the mini-map? Can I buy it? Is that DLC? I would buy it. I need a mini-map. I hate having to pause it, and you have to pause, and then you go press A again to see the map. And then when you back out, it's like 2 seconds. And not really, but it's a long pause from backing out, and the game has to reload the lighting or something. Like, it does it really quickly, but it's just weird, and it takes you out of it to have to pause to look for something. There's also issues of quest markers. It's like, oh, this is over here. Then you go down some stairs and it's like, it's actually over here, because it tracks, it's trying to get you there and trying to be really helpful, but it's leading you to the stairs that will then take you to the hallway, right? It's not showing you go to the hallway. It's telling you go to the stairs and then go down the hallway. So it's weird. It's a weird next step for it. Oh, there's also stuff where people are talking just in, you know, as you're walking around, and that gets cut off, whether it be by you walking too far or activating another thing or triggering another cutscene. Like, dialogue will get cut off, and it's one of those super annoying things where people start talking and you're like, okay, I'll stand here. I don't want to miss any of this dialogue, so I'm just going to sit here and wait for you guys to finish, because I don't trust the game to have logically thought out how long this conversation is going to be and where the player was. So that happens. And that's a bummer. The dialogue itself, if we can just get past the animations and the weird writing that's occasionally there, it gets better. Well, the motion blur like gets killed by YouTube. Anyway, the dialogue itself is way too zoomed in on faces. This is one of my criticisms of a lot of movies, when they zoom in on a character's face and it's like, seriously, like this. Like, that's how they box the picture. It's like, but why are I so zoomed into Leo's face? I get it. He got eaten by a bear. It's too zoomed into his face. I don't remember if that movie did that, but doesn't matter. He did get eaten by a bear. It's too zoomed in, and that's what this game does. And it's especially weird when its human characters especially look like meat puppets and are super awkward. So why are you so fixated on zooming into their face to show off how motionless and weird they are? Why would you do that? Why would that be your chosen camera angle? Let me zoom in on their face. You know, the part that we know looks weird because we haven't finished all the animations. Like, clearly this should have, or this needed a couple more months to kind of fine tune some of these things, like the animations for a lot of this. So why would you zoom in on it? Why would you zoom? It's so just like, there's questionable decisions, and then there's like baffling decisions, and that's one of those. It really does not make any sense. I already talked about the missing aliens, which is very, very not cool to me. I will highlight again those interesting decisions that you can make and choices, and they don't have big ramifications, at least yet, but they're interesting, and everyone has their own little opinion on it. And it's not like, man, I don't like you. It's like, well, this means this, and you start having this almost not debate, but this back and forth with all these different characters, and it does that really well. A lot better than I remember the Mass Effects having multiple characters talk to each other at the same time. It does that frequently enough, especially with the moments I talked about where you're on your ship all talking, that are so good. So good. Love that. And I mean, I really like it. I really like it. I wouldn't have put 14 hours into it. I wouldn't have read all the codex stuff. Like, I'm not doing everything. I'm doing a lot of things. Like, I'm doing a lot of the side quests. Most of the side quests, I'm running around the Nexus, doing shit I don't need to do, talking to people, solving a murder, which was a super cool side quest. And it seems to, it still has those side quests that are really basic, of like, oh, go do this thing for me. And you're like, all right, fine. But some of those start out seeming basic, like, oh, give this to your computer. You're like, okay. And then it like just jukes you. Like, oh, this is happening now? Like, oh, I didn't even, okay, all right. Where's this going to go? So it's not in like a super cool Red Baron Witcher 3 way, but in a still pretty cool, like, oh, all right. That's not just a go here and turn that in. That's a think you're going to go turn it in. And now it gets flipped on its head, and you go back to the other person and start talking to them. And like, what does that mean? What does this mean? And it does these quests where it's like, you're going to have to advance the story more. Like, this quest is on hold until you get until more information becomes available to you in the game's universe. This mission's on hold. You just have to wait. Like, that's cool. It's not, this is the mission you can do here, and you could do it at any point in the game. Like, you could come back way later and do it all at once, I'm assuming. But it's nice to have it start, and it's going to be one of those things where 5 hours later into the game, I'm like, oh yeah, what happened with that uprising over here? That's cool to me. I like what it's doing. I like what it's doing in a lot of respects. It just remains to be seen how much of it missing that was in the original trilogy in terms of like Quarians is my big problem. Not being in the game at all. I'm assuming they're not in the game at all. I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're going to be. Their arc isn't even missing. As far as we know, it never took off. We don't know because we left. So that sucks. That like I love their history with the Geth, and I love Tally, and I really wanted any Quarian character. I'll take anyone, any one of them. But I feel like I'm not going to get that. And I feel like there's going to be other aspects too, as a longtime fan, that it is really going to not meet them. It's not going to get up there, which is unfortunate. But it's really unfortunate because I think it does a lot of things right. And because like the suicide mission in Mass Effect 2, or like, you gotta rally all the forces of Mass Effect 3 were so just forced, ham-fisted, and like, oh, this is fine, and I like meeting all these new people, but the main plot isn't there. And this one has the main plot, but it seems like while the characters all around you are interesting, it's missing these elements and adding other elements that are cool. Like, I don't know, it's still very weird. But I do think a lot of the, we'll say negativities, we'll say the 6s and the 7s it's getting are low. I don't score games. I don't think I've ever even mentioned a score on any of my reviews I've ever done, and I wouldn't even consider this a review. But to me, so far, this is at least an 8. I really enjoy this game. You just have to go into it expecting more Mass Effect. And I mean that, like, exactly that. More Mass Effect from 2009. Like, this is not 2017 Mass Effect. This is maybe 2014 Mass Effect, right? Like, this is not cutting edge Mass Effect. Think of it in the same way of Fallout 4. Not a lot of changes from Fallout 3. I think this changes more than 3 to 4 for Fallout, but it is still not all quite there. But really like it. Hoping it doesn't disappoint or start to disappoint. I shot some people there. Probably poorly. I'm not good. Not good at shooting. It really... I wish you had more maneuverability in the air when you can fly around. Maybe that's another skill I can unlock. I don't know. I'm earning all these points. It's a little, not overwhelming, but it's just so much crap to dig through. It's hard to be excited when there's so much crap. Just sit right back, and you'll now hear the tale of me trying to play Splatoon 2. So, 5 minutes to this first start of the Splatooniness. I go onto my Switch, I turn it on, I try to get in to Splatoon 2 to maybe see if there's settings I can do, or whatever. Just a couple minutes early. Can't connect to the internet. Okay. I look at my computer, internet's fine. Alright, I go to the connection settings on the Switch. It can't connect. Oh wait, it can. Oh wait, it can't. That repeats for a while. I decide to wait a couple minutes. It's now after the allotted time to start. I go back in, still doesn't work. I go back into Splatoon and I just try to connect. It's like, oh, can't connect, can't connect, can't connect, can't connect. Good thing this is a beta. Good thing we're testing this out, because really not looking good. I finally get in. It takes a little bit, but once I got in, didn't have any lag, didn't have any problems, except for the last match I did get disconnected from. So that was fine. Once I was in, it was pretty fine. I will say a lot of my opinions on this game are tempered by the fact that I didn't know you could change your controls in the game. You had to back out to the where you pick your weapon, and then you can change the controls. So I couldn't change it to just, dual analogs. So I had to use the motion controls. And here's the problem with the motion controls for me, because I have no problem with motion controls. I like the motion controls on Breath of the Wild. You can aim like, I'm aiming normally, 2 sticks, and then let me fine tune it just a little. And I think it works so well. Perfect. It works great. I'm taking pictures like that. I'm doing everything like that in Breath of the Wild. Great. Splatoon doesn't do that. So its default control scheme that I didn't know I could change, and, I don't know why you wouldn't let me change it in the middle of a match. Whatever. Is left and right is on the right control stick, but up and down, so you won't see me go up and down very much, up and down is the motion controls, and left and right. But I can't go up and down on the thumbstick, because that would make too much sense. I can't do that. I can't do up and down on the right thumbstick and the motion controls. No, motion controls exclusive up and down. Great, I'm so excited. So excited for your terrible control scheme. Because why is that your default control scheme? Let it fucking be both analog sticks like normal plus motion. That should be the default. That's the default. The fact that this other thing is the default, baffling to me. So that's strike 2. We already had the connection issues. That's strike 2 of getting me, someone who's never played Splatoon, but I was interested vaguely, into this game, right? The next thing we have, that was a whole match. Very short. So short, I'm not even sure I could have made any difference or tried to do anything. But fine, this isn't even where. I can't even change my control scheme here, for the record. This is not where you change control schemes. And because I barely got into this, I wasn't going to back out. Was not going to back out and see, maybe I could back out. No, because as soon as I backed out and picked a different weapon, the next match took forever to get into, and it crashed at the end of it. So, no, I'm glad I stayed in. So I have about 4 matches to talk over, and then it's over. Those are 2 strikes. And I eventually kind of got used to the controls and how it worked with the silly motion. I like painting it. I think it's got a beautiful aesthetic. I love the UI, the just style of it in general, the colors. Great. Oh, this is me jumping into water because I didn't know there was water there. That's fun. Anyway, the whole painting of the world thing, that's cool. Swimming under the whatever, that's cool. It's got a lot of really cool stuff in it. I can see why people really like it. But the gunplay, maybe it was just because the controls are terrible for default. It just didn't work right. I don't know if I was like, am I hitting him? I'm throwing bombs, but is it working? I don't know. I know killing other people in this game isn't exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're painting the world. That's what you're doing in this game mode. It's not deathmatch. But that felt weird. I was playing against people in some of these matches that were pro doing shit. I'm like, I've never played this game. I'm fumbling around. I don't know what the hell's going on. And you're sniping me across the map with a weapon that I'm not even sure I saw I could pick. So, okay, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know why you can't die and repick the weapon you have. Like at any other class-based thing. It's like you get stuck with the weapon you have, and then you have to back out of the matchmaking to change it. That's really dumb. I would love to have had more modes, or at least know what the modes are. I mean, I guess that's on me to look it up, but as a beta, as a demo, as a taste, I think you have to give people a better taste. Because I'm the market for this, right? I have a Switch. I'm the market for this. I never played the first one. Okay, let's try this. And this coupled with the third strike of, we're going to do an hour here, an hour here, an hour here, and an hour here. I'm like, well, one of those at 2 is 2 in the morning. I'm not going to do that one. So that one's out. This one's already happened. There's another one at like midnight. I'm not going to do that one because now I'm working early in the mornings. I can't do that. So this was, I think, the only time I'm going to get to play it was this. And in a world where I can go on my PS4 and I can play Neo, like I could put in another 10 hours of that game and get the platinum. Maybe not even 10 hours. Like I want to do that. Or I could turn on my computer and I could play more Mass Effect Andromeda or more Nier Automata, which I really want to play more of. Or I could just go on my Switch and go play more Zelda, which 80 hours, still more to do. Still haven't gone to the castle. Like this game exists in that world. It exists in that world with these big heavy hitters. And I'm not saying it should be better than them or it should be just as good as them, but I'm saying you're offering an experience. And I think you should offer something that's a little more thought out and more of a fun experience. I've played a lot of betas. I've played the For Honor beta, alpha, way back. Close back. I don't know what the hell it was. I played the Wildlands beta. These companies, both the Ubisoft, so that company knows how to do betas. I don't disagree with Nintendo's weird way of doing it. But 1 hour and 4 times randomly, like give me a 4-hour block on Friday, a 4-hour block on Saturday, and a 4-hour block on Sunday. Like give me something like that so I can really get into this. I don't have to worry about connection issues because it took me, 10 minutes to get in, and that's, I only have 50 more minutes, and then what the hell am I doing with this? And I don't even know how the buttons work, or like what the fuck's happening? Oh, the time's over. Like, all right, well, like I need more of a taste. And like I said, this is a very packed spring, and I don't see any reason for this not to be. I don't see any reason for this to be. So, it was fine. What I played was fine. It was good enough for not me. This is not the game for me. I think it's too old. Right? Like I can't switch weapons. I can't change controls in the middle of the match. The connection's all weird. Like I just don't, even as a single player thing, I don't know if I'd see the appeal in it. I don't know. And that's like first impressions are everything. And I'm willing to give games probably more of a chance than they even deserve sometimes. Like I played hours and hours of things, and I was like, that was just okay. And then I played 5 more hours. And I was like, oh, that was actually really good. But I invested several hours of into this that a lot of people wouldn't have. And maybe if there's another Testfire, or there's another one with this current one with the time works better, I'll try it again, but with the different controls, because good lord were those bad. But as it currently stands, I don't want this. And it really is. I'll be playing Zelda on my Switch probably all through the next month too. But after that, I'm going to, put a little sheet over it so dust doesn't collect on it. Because it's Arizona, there's dust everywhere. And I'm just going to wait for Mario. And I'm totally cool with that. I have no problem with that. There is no shortage of great games for me to play at this juncture. There's too many. I would argue there's far too many. We could have spread this out. This has been one of the best years for gaming, for me in particular, my taste, probably ever. Just hit after hit for me. And next week I have the Dark Souls 3 DLC. It's out of control. Out of control. So Splatoon, fine. Do your little thing. People like you. I love the colors. I said this in this little gameplay, actually. I'd rather watch this game than play it. Like, I'm really bad at it because of the motion controls in Petart. But I'd watch it. It's very cool to watch. The 2-minute match is far too short, but I'm sure you can change that. It's fine. And it's fine that there's something that's not for me, because most things aren't. So here's a game for someone else, because all the other games this year were for me. And good lord. I mean, you're releasing this game in a world with Zelda and Neo and Horizon and Nier and Resident Evil 7 and okay. Even Mass Effect, even stuff like the new Tales game was supposed to be really good. Like Persona's in a month and a half or so. Like you're releasing this and it's like, man, we made Splatoon. Like, all right. You get like, pat them on the head. All right. You did a thing. Thanks, Nintendo. Thanks for your thing. It's cute. Yay. I don't know what this is. But it's fine. And that's the show. Recorded live, 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday. Twitch.tv/TheGameFanatics. No chat this week. Disappointed. Disappointed in all of you. Almost as disappointed in my performance. I think this was the one where I did really poorly. Or no, was this the one where I was the best on my team and I was still really terrible? No, this is the one I also did poorly. But look at them, like I got 6 kills. He was the worst player. I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to do. Why can I only paint the floors and some walls? But some walls can't be painted. I needed more paint. More things needed to be painted. I don't know. The thing's fine. That's it. That's the end of the show. I want to paint more things. You gotta sit in this menu. I like the graphics are super cool. I like the little squid guys. Bloop, 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 bloop. That's cool. I don't know. Merry Christmas. Thanks for hanging out. Anyone who hung out or ever sees this. If you see this, leave a comment that says I saw this. Or I'm watching you. I like that. I'm watching you. Really creepily. Like, no, don't even put a period at the end of that sentence. Don't you dare.